OpenAI's safety leadership just got quietly reshuffled, and most news outlets barely noticed. The company's head of safety is reportedly leaving as part of a broader reorganization, which sounds routine until you think about what it really means. OpenAI built its entire reputation on being the safety-first AI company, yet here they are, reorganizing that very team without explaining why. Think of it like this: if a pharmaceutical company known for rigorous testing suddenly reorganized its drug safety division, you'd want to know what's going on. Same principle. OpenAI has spent years positioning itself as different from the Silicon Valley Wild West. They talk about responsibility. They publish safety research. They hired researchers specifically to study how AI systems could cause harm. And right now, when governments are finally paying attention, when regulators are tightening AI rules globally, when every competitor is running PR campaigns about their safety commitment, OpenAI chooses this moment to restructure the department that makes those safety promises real. That's not random timing. That's a signal. Organizations don't reorganize crucial teams randomly. They reorganize when priorities change or when leadership wants to move in a different direction. So the question isn't just who's leaving. The real question is what changes when they are gone. Here's what the headlines completely missed. Let's back up and understand who we are talking about here. OpenAI's safety team isn't just a public relations department. These are technical researchers studying real problems. How can language models be tricked into generating disinformation? How can they be manipulated to produce harmful code? What about bias? Do these systems treat different groups differently? These aren't theoretical questions. They are urgent practical challenges. After ChatGPT launched and millions of people tried it, the safety concerns became visible. The model could write convincing but completely false information. It could be coaxed into producing content it shouldn't through clever prompting. OpenAI responded by emphasizing they had safety protocols and researchers working on these problems. That became part of their brand identity. Safety work at a major AI company typically includes several layers. First, there's alignment research, understanding what these models actually do and building them to behave predictably. Second, there's content policy, deciding what outputs are acceptable. Third, there's adversarial testing, where people actively try to break the system to find vulnerabilities. Finally, there's monitoring, watching real-world use for problems that emerge at scale. All of this work requires people who understand both AI development and ethics. People with PhDs in machine learning who have also thought deeply about harms. People who can push back when executives want to ship features faster. People who will actually say we are not ready when safety isn't sufficient. And those people, the ones with that specific combination of skills and values, are about to leave OpenAI. That matters. Here's what actually happens when a company reorganizes its safety team. On the surface, it's just shuffling boxes on an org chart. In reality, it's much more significant. Organizational structure determines power and resources. When you reorganize, you're making a bet about what matters. Think about it this way. If safety research reports to the CEO directly, that person has power in decision-making. Their voice carries weight when the company considers launching new features or taking new risks. If safety suddenly gets buried 3 levels deep under product development, they're less likely to slow down shipping schedules. That's not a coincidence. It's a deliberate choice about influence. During a reorganization, you also lose institutional knowledge and relationships. The departing safety head has spent years building connections with researchers, understanding the company's systems, earning credibility with other teams. Their replacement has to rebuild all of that. Meanwhile, product teams keep shipping. That window of reduced oversight, that's when things can accelerate. There's also a personnel question. The people who leave often take their values with them. If you lose researchers who genuinely believed safety should constrain capabilities, you need to replace them with people who share that conviction. But reorganizations are also opportunities to hire people with different priorities. None of this proves OpenAI is abandoning safety. It proves that safety influence is being restructured at exactly the moment when AI capabilities are accelerating. The company is making a choice about how much safety work constrains development. That choice ripples forward for years. To understand why this matters, look at what safety issues have actually affected OpenAI's models in practice. These aren't hypothetical worries, they are real documented problems. Example 1, ChatGPT can be jailbroken. Users discovered prompts and techniques that make it ignore safety guidelines and generate harmful content. OpenAI repeatedly patched these gaps. Without that safety team pushing back, those gaps would persist and become accepted behavior. Example 2, the model hallucinates information. Ask it about recent events and it confidently makes things up, sounding authoritative while being entirely false. This is a safety problem because users trust and share that misinformation. Someone has to monitor and improve this. That requires dedicated work. Example 3, there's measurable bias in these systems. Language models learn patterns from training data, including human biases. A safety team measures this, reports it, and pushes for improvements. This work often conflicts with speed. It delays releases, but responsibility means slowing down sometimes. Example 4, OpenAI's own researchers found that newer AI models could pose significant risks if safety protocols were bypassed. This research existed because the company had a safety structure investigating these problems. Now that structure is being reorganized. Fewer people investigating means fewer discoveries, fewer warnings, fewer moments where safety says hold on. The pattern is clear. Safety work is mostly invisible when it works. You don't see accidents that were prevented. You only see problems that slipped through. A smaller safety team means more problems slip through. OpenAI isn't the only AI company, and comparing how they handle safety reveals their actual priorities right now. Anthropic, founded by former OpenAI researchers, built safety into their core mission from day one. Constitutional AI, their approach to teaching models ethics, came from this commitment. The company's entire research focus is safety first. Google, through DeepMind, employs thousands studying AI alignment, fairness, and risk. They've published extensively on safety challenges. Google's scale means safety gets real resources and weight in decisions. Meanwhile, OpenAI is reorganizing its safety team during this exact period. They're reducing dedicated safety personnel while scaling up model capabilities. They are doing this while racing to compete with both Anthropic and Google. This isn't about accusing OpenAI. Competition creates pressure. Faster models often beat safer ones in market competition. Growth beats caution in investor returns. But the contrast matters. When Anthropic is betting the company on safety and Google is scaling safety research, OpenAI is restructuring its safety team. That difference signals what each company actually prioritizes. The real irony, OpenAI built its brand and user trust by positioning itself as safety conscious. That differentiation worked. That brand was worth billions. But now, during the race to build increasingly powerful systems, that very safety team is being reorganized. It suggests the brand might not reflect actual priorities anymore. The company's actions are signaling something different from what they've publicly claimed, and that's worth paying attention to. What happens now when safety teams shrink during critical moments like this one? First, development accelerates. Safety work creates friction. It slows shipping because researchers ask hard questions about risks. It delays features because guardrails need testing. Without that scrutiny, products move faster. That looks good in board meetings, but it means fewer eyes catching problems before they harm people. Second, problems get discovered externally instead of internally. When internal safety infrastructure is weaker, researchers find vulnerabilities, journalists uncover misuse, regulators investigate incidents. That's worse than catching issues before release. It's reactive instead of proactive. Third, the timing is terrible for everyone. Governments globally are scrutinizing AI right now. Europe's AI Act is active. Various countries are designing AI regulations. This is when OpenAI should demonstrate robust safety practices and strong commitment to responsibility. Instead, they are reorganizing the team that would demonstrate that commitment. From a policy perspective, that's concerning. From a user perspective, it matters because it affects the systems you're using. From an industry perspective, it's a signal. When the most powerful AI company deprioritizes safety during regulatory scrutiny, it sends a message to every other company. It says safety is negotiable. It says shipping matters more than caution. That message gets copied across the industry. The full implication, OpenAI's reorganization affects not just OpenAI, it affects how every AI company thinks about safety budgets. It affects what regulators think is possible to enforce. It affects the trajectory of the entire industry for the next several years. Here's how to read what's really happening inside companies during reorganizations, because the moves themselves are the message. When leaders leave during restructuring, it's because their values don't match the new direction. People with strong commitments to X don't stay when the company deprioritizes X. When OpenAI's safety leaders leave, the signal is clear. The company's internal strategy is shifting. You see this pattern everywhere. When tobacco companies restructure health divisions, what's the signal? When pharma companies downsize safety teams, what does that tell you? Organizations don't shrink the thing they actually care about most. They trim what they can afford to lose. So pay attention to resource flows. If safety researchers are leaving but engineering teams are growing, that's a message. If safety reporting changes and becomes less influential in decisions, that's a message. If the new structure reports differently through the organization, that's a message. The press releases say one thing, the organizational moves say another. The moves are what actually matter. Press releases are theater. Reorganizations are strategy. For OpenAI specifically, watch what happens next. Do they hire safety researchers aggressively to replace departures, or do they absorb the losses? Does the new safety structure have more or less influence over shipping decisions? Are safety research priorities changing? These questions will be answered by actions, not statements. This is how you understand where companies are really headed. OpenAI is the most influential AI company right now. Billions use their products. Other companies copy their moves. When OpenAI deprioritizes its safety team, that affects the entire industry. The practical implication is clear. OpenAI's systems will likely move faster and be scrutinized less before release. That changes the risk profile. More responsibility falls on users and regulators to catch problems instead of the company catching them internally. Here's what you can actually do with this information. First, stay skeptical of corporate safety claims. Watch what companies do with safety teams. Resources matter infinitely more than words. When they say we prioritize safety, look at budget and headcount, not press releases. Second, help policymakers understand this exact moment. When regulators debate AI rules, they need to know that the leading AI company just reorganized its safety team. That fact should shape policy decisions. Third, support competitors betting on safety-first development. Anthropic and others are building differently. Where you spend attention and resources signals what you value, and the industry notices. Finally, understand this is a turning point, not an ending. Watch what happens next. Do they rebuild the team? Does the new structure prove equally strong, or does this accelerate the problems we'll hear about in 6 months? The bigger lesson, you don't need insider information to understand corporate priorities. Just watch what they do when they think nobody's watching. Reorganizations reveal truth. Leadership changes expose values.